Have you ever noticed how cleaning your home can feel strangely comforting, almost calming, even when you're tired or emotionally drained? How wiping a surface or organizing a space brings a quiet sense of relief that's hard to explain, as if your mind slows down while your hands stay busy? And maybe you've wondered why something so simple feels so satisfying to you while others see it as a chore to avoid. Why putting things in order feels less like work and more like a reset, a pause from noise and pressure, a moment where everything seems to make sense again. And the question isn't really why you clean, but why cleaning feels so good in the first place. If this experience feels familiar to you, it's important to know that there's nothing unusual or wrong about it, and that enjoying cleaning is not a sign of obsession, avoidance, or emotional rigidity, but a common and understandable response for many people. A lot of individuals experience a quiet sense of comfort when their environment becomes more organized, and this doesn't mean they are controlling or overly perfectionistic. It simply reflects how their mind finds ease and clarity. In fact, many people who love cleaning are emotionally aware and sensitive to their surroundings, even if they've never put words to it. If you find yourself nodding along right now, you're far from alone, and this channel exists to explore exactly these kinds of experiences together. If you enjoy content that explains everyday behaviors in a calm, thoughtful way, you're welcome to subscribe and stay with us. Liking the video helps support this kind of quiet, educational content, and you can share your own experience in the comments, whether cleaning feels calming, grounding, or simply familiar to you. At its core, enjoying cleaning often reveals something deeper about how the mind seeks balance and stability, because this preference is less about the act itself and more about what it provides internally. For many people, cleaning represents a gentle way to restore order, both externally and mentally, without needing to think too much or explain anything to anyone. This doesn't mean a person needs everything to be perfect, and it's very different from compulsive or anxious cleaning, which comes from fear or loss of control. In this case, cleaning is voluntary, calming, and even grounding, a simple activity that allows the mind to settle while the body stays engaged. What this behavior often reflects is a natural sensitivity to one's environment and a desire for clarity, not an extreme need for control, but a quiet preference for spaces that feel safe, predictable, and easy to process. From a psychological perspective, the pleasure some people feel while cleaning is closely linked to how the brain responds to order, predictability, and visible progress. The human brain evolved to constantly scan the environment for safety, coherence, and signals that things are under control, and when a space feels chaotic or disorganized, it can quietly increase mental load even if we are not consciously aware of it. Cleaning reduces that load by turning a vague sense of disorder into a clear, manageable action, and this clarity alone can bring relief. When you clean, your brain receives immediate feedback. You see the result of your effort right away, which creates a sense of completion that many modern tasks no longer provide. Unlike abstract problems or emotional concerns that have no clear endpoint, cleaning has a visible beginning, middle, and end, and this structure is deeply satisfying for certain minds. There is also an attentional component involved, because cleaning gently narrows focus without demanding complex thinking, allowing the mind to rest from rumination while staying engaged in the present moment. This combination of physical movement, repetition, and visible order can calm the nervous system, especially for people who are sensitive to overstimulation or mental clutter. On a neurological level, the brain tends to respond positively to environments that are easier to process visually and spatially, and a clean space reduces the number of stimuli competing for attention. For some individuals, this reduction feels like mental breathing room, a sense that thoughts can finally slow down. Cleaning can also act as a form of emotional regulation, not by suppressing feelings, but by creating a sense of agency during moments when emotions feel diffuse or overwhelming. The act itself becomes a bridge between internal chaos and external order, giving the brain a signal that things are being handled, even if only in a small, contained way. Importantly, this response is not universal, and that difference matters. Some brains find stimulation and novelty energizing, while others find comfort in simplicity and order, and neither is superior. For people who love cleaning, the brain often associates order with safety, clarity, and calm, not because they fear mess, but because order reduces cognitive friction. Over time, this association becomes learned and reinforced, making cleaning feel naturally rewarding rather than effortful. What looks like enjoyment of a chore from the outside is often the brain responding to a state that feels internally easier to inhabit. This pattern often shows up in very ordinary moments, like cleaning the kitchen after a long day, organizing a room before starting a new week, or tidying up when thoughts feel scattered and unfocused. Some people notice that when they feel stressed, emotionally overloaded, or mentally tired, Their instinct is not to talk or distract themselves, but to clean something small and manageable. It might be wiping a table, folding clothes, or arranging objects on a shelf, and as the space becomes clearer, their thoughts slowly follow. Others find themselves cleaning before an important conversation, after a difficult day, or when they need to think more clearly, not because the mess caused the emotion, but because cleaning creates a sense of internal order that makes emotions easier to carry. There are also moments when cleaning feels preferable to scrolling on a phone or engaging in noise, because it offers movement without overstimulation and structure without pressure. Over time, many people begin to associate cleaning with relief, calm, and mental reset, not as a rule or obligation, but as a familiar way to return to themselves when the world feels too loud or demanding. When this behavior is seen through a psychological lens, enjoying cleaning no longer looks like a personality quirk or something that needs to be explained away, but rather a meaningful and adaptive response to how certain minds seek calm and balance. Instead of viewing it as rigidity or control, it can be understood as a quiet form of self-regulation, a way the mind gently restores order when things feel mentally heavy or emotionally unclear. This reframing removes the idea that there is something excessive or unnecessary about the behavior and replaces it with understanding. Cleaning, in this sense, is not about avoiding emotions or responsibilities, but about creating a space where emotions become easier to hold and thoughts can settle naturally. For many people, it is simply one of the ways the mind communicates a need for clarity, safety, and grounding, and recognizing this allows the experience to feel valid rather than questioned or minimized. When you think back to the quiet moments when cleaning felt comforting rather than exhausting, it becomes easier to see that this preference was never really about the task itself, but about what it offered your mind in those moments. A clean space can feel like a pause, a small island of clarity in a world that often feels rushed and noisy, and for some people that pause is deeply meaningful. Understanding this doesn't mean everyone needs to feel the same way about cleaning, it simply reminds us that different minds settle in different ways. Quiet psychology exists to explore these subtle differences with care and curiosity, and if this reflection helped you understand yourself a little better, you're welcome to subscribe and continue exploring these everyday patterns with us. Liking the video helps support calm, thoughtful content like this, and you're invited to share your own experience in the comments. What does cleaning give you emotionally when you need a sense of calm or clarity?